The following is rated S for spoilers.
I'm saying there's plenty of videos of flying online. I saw one the other day that wasn't on Oprah.
I didn't say Oprah. You said Oprah. You love Oprah. Like, all I'm saying is all that online is fake, low quality. Ain't nobody gonna get what we gonna get.
What we gonna get?
The shot.
What shot?
The shot. The money shot. Undeniable, singular, the Oprah shot.
Hello and welcome to the Popcorn Hangover. My name is Alex, and today we are discussing Jordan Peele's newest film, Nope. You may notice we have a bit of a different setup here today. Graham is out. He had to get a tooth pulled, so he is struggling at home. But today I have with me my good friend Andrew Sexton to help me out. Andrew, how's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty good.
Just pretty good?
Yeah, just pretty good. I'm sitting outside. It's nice now, but it's been hot.
Yes,
it's been really hot.
Yeah.
It's been hot everywhere.
It's awful. I was traveling this last week and I was hoping for like cooler weather or something, and it wasn't. It was just as awful.
Where did you travel to?
I went to Pennsylvania to film a wedding.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
I was like, it's probably a little more humid over there, isn't it?
Just a little bit. Then yeah, just a tiny bit. Let's just jump into it, because this is a big movie with a lot to say, and there's not enough time in the world. So Andrew, what were your thoughts on Nope?
I left the theater kind of confused at the end, but I think overall I did like it as a whole. It was definitely a different. It was still the same like Jordan Peele type of movie, like from his last two with Get Out and Us and stuff like that. Like there's still definitely that depth and the tone to it. But I think overall I really like that movie. It was definitely less horror than I thought it would be. I think than everybody thought it would be for sure. But I think all in all, it was definitely a different story. I think it really tapped into like the awe and wonder more than the mysterious and scary, which I really liked as well. Yeah. And I honestly thought all the actors and actresses did really well in the movie. I thought that like the theater that I went to, they didn't really have like a very good sound system, so I was like kind of disappointed with that. Always support independent theaters, all that stuff. Like that's all good, but I definitely don't think I got the full effect of like the grand of like the reveal of what the UFO is and things like that either. But that was still one of those like, oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah. And you kind of hear one of the main characters at the beginning say something along the lines of like, I don't think it's a spaceship. I think that it's like that's the alien or something like that. And I don't think it really sinks in until probably like, honestly, like till you're well over halfway through the movie, you're like, oh, that's what he meant. Right.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing. It definitely took me like 2 viewings to really figure it out. Like the second time through, like I don't know. I think it's just part of the brilliance of Jordan Peele too. Is just like there's all this stuff going on, and you can see everything happening throughout the film. You don't know to expect it, or like you aren't looking for it. Like the cloud, for example, the cloud is there from the beginning, and there's other moving clouds, or like you're seeing Jupiter like practicing for his big event. Like there's all these things that are happening throughout the movie, but you don't actually realize that they're significant until like a later viewings. Like I think this is like one of the most rewatchable movies I've seen in a long time. Like I just
for sure.
I would want to watch it because there's so much to digest. I don't know.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. My first time going into it, I had like really, really high expectations, especially for the horror aspects, like you said. So like leaving the theater, I was a little confused and like a little disappointed. But the second time through, when I was going in expecting more of an indie sci-fi movie, like I enjoyed it a lot more. I don't know why that is, but I don't know. My having that like mindset, I guess. You go into like a movie with different mindsets, right? Like I'm gonna go into a Marvel movie expecting some like big dramatic walk out of the theater like being a changed person, like and just there to watch people like fight and do stuff. So I don't know, going into it not expecting a horror movie from a movie that's been marketed as a horror movie made me enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think what really threw me for the loop was the second preview, actually. Like, I don't remember what movie I went to go see. We saw the first preview for it, and I was like, and he kind of left that awe and mystery feeling right there, and you're like, whoa, this is gonna be crazy. Like, you had your doubts that it was aliens or it was, you know, something else that was gonna happen or whatever. Like, he just kind of like left that up in the air. And then I remember, what movie was it? The first trailer I think I saw on the Batman, and then I think second trailer. Yeah, I think the second trailer
was it
saw.
Top Gun?
Yeah, it was Top Gun that I saw the second trailer.
Yeah,
I think. And that was the one that I was like, "Wait, is this a horror movie?"
Right.
I remember I leaned over to my wife. I said, "What was that about?"
Wait,
and she was
hold on.
like, "I don't know." I was like, "That was a complete and utter like tonal change from what the original trailer was."
Right.
Like, I don't know what they call that, but there's a couple movies. The one that comes to mind is Phantom Thread. You see the preview for that movie, and then you go see that movie, and the preview would not like explain at all and do justice like to what the movie's actually about. And I wouldn't say it's that dramatic, but like it definitely was like a very big weird tonal shift change to where I was like, I don't think this is going to be a horror movie.
Right. But even then, like, because I remember when I saw Maverick, I was by myself and I had this older couple next to me, like 50s, 60s maybe. And so they're watching the trailer, and about halfway through, like the wife just goes, "Nope." It's like, "Nope, we're not going to see that." And then it pops up and it shows the title, and her and her husband, like they were shocked. But like, it also makes, I don't know, people keep talking about like the brilliance of the title and how it has all these different meanings. And I don't know if, I mean, Jordan Peele's a pretty funny dude, so he always just says, "Oh, I was just like, what would a black guy say in the situation?" He's like, they just be like, "Nope." And that I do believe that, just because like that's what that old couple did. They were like, "Nope, we're not going to see that."
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's just, Jordan Peele is a brilliant, Nope was directed by Jordan Peele, written by Jordan Peele, starring Daniel Kaluuya, Keke Palmer, Brandon Perea, Michael Wincott, and Stephen Yeun. Released July 22nd, 2022, with an estimated budget of $68 million. This is the fun fact. So this is his biggest movie. But like, I think it's interesting because it's his highest budget, but this almost seems the most like contained of his other films. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it really didn't take place in that many locations either. It was just right there in the desert, like on the two farms, really. Like they didn't really travel much anywhere. I mean, except for like the very beginning, they're the Hollywood studio.
Right.
And then going back to the title and stuff too, like it was just so many times whenever OJ, the main character, OJ is just like the more specific one, he's sitting in his truck and the rain stops and it's like over him and he just locks the door and goes, "Nope." And I'm like, that's exactly, like, I think it's funny because like if you classify this as a horror movie, the main character is doing exactly the opposite of what a quintessential horror movie character would do, which is, I'm not going over there. I'm not doing that. Like at the beginning of the movie, his dad, because he didn't say nope and didn't look at the sharp objects falling from the sky, like he like, I mean, that almost, I feel like in my mind would essentially save his life, because I don't know if anybody else really noticed this, or if you noticed this, like the coin entered through his eye socket, like the softest point in his skull, you know what I mean? So it's like, would it, like, I mean, that stuff was going pretty fast, but I mean, it was sticking into the wood and stuff, so it wasn't like phasing straight through the wood. It was just falling out of the sky. So like, if his dad didn't look up, he might still be alive, you know?
That's really interesting.
So it's kind of like the thing from from OJ, the main character. He's just said nope from the very beginning. That was his, that was his role.
Yeah, I didn't realize that, but yeah, that's totally, and it kind of fits with like some of the grander themes of the movie too, right? Here's a question for you, because with a movie like this, like movies are are art, and art is subjective. I have seen so many different interpretations of what the meaning behind this movie is. I mean, like with Get Out and Us, like those are two, like they have a lot to say, like these really grand themes. Mm-hmm. What did you take away from this movie? Was there like this big grand thing, or was it more like contained?
I mean, I don't necessarily know if I would say it was contained, because it's like what you said, like even with Us and Get Out and everything, like with those two movies as well, like the more you watch it, the more the layers. Every time I say that, I think of Shrek. Ogres have layers. The more like the like layers of it, like yeah, it just kind of like comes undone and stuff. Like I wouldn't say I cheated, but I definitely did like do a little bit of like looking at, just because that's one of the things that I do after I watch a movie. I'm like, why this? Why that? Mm-hmm. And the cool part about that is almost like Jordan Peele over time slowly reveals more and more about his movies, but there's always a reason for everything. And like there's a lot of intentionality behind everything that he does, I guess. So mm-hmm. It's like, why did it start with that monkey? What's with the floating shoe? It's not floating, but like the bouncing shoe in the middle. Like what's with the not making eye contact with predator? You know, like mm-hmm. all that stuff. But I don't know. I do think it had like an overarching theme with it. Is just like, I wouldn't say it's like animal rights at all by any means, but like it'd be more like almost like the machine, right? That would kill you. Mm-hmm. Like the thing in the sky wasn't an actual machine. It was where I'm assuming this is like a spoiler. Like this is a spoiler podcast. Yeah. We're gonna spoil everything.
Go for it.
But like it was an actual living creature, right? And mm-hmm. so I guess like what's the guy's name? Joseph Yoon. What was his character's name?
I forget what his actual name is, but people just called him like Jupe, right? Like Jupiter.
Yeah. Like, so he was the kid who was at the beginning with like the monkey and everything, as the monkey's massacring everybody, right? What was mm-hmm. the monkey's name? Was George? Was it George?
Gordy.
Gordy. There it is. Gordy. Like, I don't know. I just feel like there's a theme right there with like just how it's almost like taming the wild animal, right? Mm-hmm. Like at the end of the day, it's still a wild animal. And you can't control it. Right. So you put whatever metaphor you want with that. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like that would just be the overarching thing, is it's like these wild creatures, you cannot control it. You can mm-hmm. you can only like do with it what it wills, but also you can only control it so much before it snaps or does something completely wild, like eat not the horse, but the entire crowd of people. Mm-hmm. And it was just kind of funny because like with that whole thing with, I have the character list right here, so I can, because I haven't gotten a chance to see it for the second time yet. I actually was wanting to. I haven't gotten to yet, mm-hmm. but Jupe was like, he was on the set, right, and he saw this wild animal snap, and then he essentially turned around, did the same exact thing, and got himself killed in the end as well. Mm-hmm. So, one observation my wife made was that at the beginning too, like Gordy didn't. All the people that he killed were the white people as well. So, I mean, Jordan Peele usually has a lot of like racial undertones with that. Yeah. But I mean, like, you can't control that animal. I mean, we're getting down to that. White people can try to control a lot of things all the time. So like mm-hmm. there's that as well. But at the end of the day too, there's a force that comes and it doesn't, kill by maybe this is about global warming. This is what it actually sounds like right now. Like the climate crisis, like, white people try to control everything, but at the end of the day, there's this massive force that's going to come and it doesn't discriminate, like mm-hmm. COVID, would people say with COVID and stuff like that, mm-hmm. Doesn't discriminate on race or class. It's fair game to everybody, like, right. So again, I'm not trying to make it about one thing or another. I'm like, this is definitely like just a metaphor as a whole to be able, right. So I don't know if it's specifically supposed to be one thing or another, but mm-hmm. All things for this type of scenario where you're trying to control the uncontrollable. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting how you started that, because I had a friend who said like, this is totally about animal rights, but his reasoning for it was very similar to you. Like, yeah, like we put these animals in like these situations where they don't belong or whatever, and they snap, and then we freak out and we get upset with the animal because we put them in a bad position. When I watched it, like for me, like all I saw was like the spectacle. Like all I thought about was how, you know, these siblings are, their entire goal is just to is to get the shot, whatever it takes to get the shot. And just how they're in search of this, like, of getting the shot and like searching for like the fame and the fortune that it's going to bring. Like that's going to be their downfall. And then I also like, I enjoyed how like at the end, you know, it all is revealed and then we have all these news crews show up and who probably got much better shots than them. And all she got was a little picture from a well and like how they discovered it. It was their thing, but like, they're not going to get any credit for it, which also like to go back to what you said with like all the racial undertones, like I feel like one of the reasons that the whole, even with the first trailer, the whole like, you know, the first video was ever filmed was of a black man on a horse, but no one knows the name of the writer. They just know the white guy who filmed it. Like it was, that almost seemed like another undertone of like, these two are like, no, we're not, yes, we discovered it, but we're not going to get any credit unless we're the ones who actually go out and like get the shot. Which is, I don't know. It's one of those things where I feel like a lot of people have the same sort of explanation, but where that explanation takes them, like, you know, global warming, animal rights, spectacle, whatever, like we all like agree on like the same explanation, but what those numbers add up to is different for everybody, which I think is interesting.
Yeah. No, I can see that as well. That's what Hollywood's about, right?
Yeah.
Spectacles, like that's what movies are. That's what we go to the movies for and watch and pay millions and millions of dollars every year to, you know, watch, it's all for the spectacle. Like,
right.
Which I think is kind of cool because, I mean, I feel like that's what made it pretty good. Like, I saw that one of his inspirations was like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Like that movie, though, is about aliens. It's not, you know, it's a long movie. I always forget how long that movie is, but like, that has some like horror undertone elements to it that are kind of creepy, but that's more of the fear of the unknown. Like you don't really know, like, are these good aliens? Are these bad aliens? Or is it like, what's going on here? And like, I feel like where there could be a jump scare with that, it kind of washes away with more like awe inspiring, like with the mothership coming down, you know, and playing that, you know, the giant song that, you know, the whole classic scene from Close Encounters. And the same thing with this movie as well. Like, I feel like there was definitely some horror elements where you're just like, oh no, like those kids in the barn dressed up like those aliens. Like that's hilarious. He punched the kid in the face. That was so funny. And they're all like, hi. And the best part about that was OJ, like even when, what was Keke Palmer's name in this?
Emerald.
Yeah, Emerald. It was funny because when Emerald came over and she's like, oh, I'm going to go kill those kids. And he's like, no, we deserved it. We stole their horse. Like, he was like, they scared me. It was touche. Like, yeah, we stole their horse.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But I do know some people would say, I don't know. There's just a lot of that stuff. Like, there's definitely a lot of horror elements to it that I did appreciate that I was like, well, that's pretty awesome. Like the blood, coming from, you know, coming from the alien over the house and stuff like that. Like that was just like, I was like, wow, that's pretty messed up. Like, I don't know.
For me, like the scene whenever they're showing everyone getting sucked up into the alien, like just, I'm not super claustrophobic, but like watching that was just like, I don't know, it was eerie and like I felt claustrophobic watching it.
Yeah. The thing's just digesting them in there. That's all it is. Like he's keeping them in there, and then I don't know, like all the stuff falling from the sky, it's just excreting it, I guess. Like all the metal that's coming out, can it choose what's coming out of it? Like, because there's blood, and I guess my theory was since it was trying to digest that fake horse, that's what the blood was from it instead of just the people. But also, because I mean, like the first time it didn't do that when all the stuff was falling out of the sky and it killed his dad, you know. So I was just like, why did it do it that time? But of course, I don't know.
Yeah, there's just so much I don't know. Like, I think the thing that like really made, I don't know why, but like it really reminded me of Colossal with Jason Sudeikis and Anne Hathaway. Have you seen that?
I've seen the preview many, many times. I've not watched it. But.
Yeah, that movie is definitely way more like out there. But like, I don't know, for whatever reason, I just kept thinking of that movie while I was watching this. Like, just the like aliens and all, like just the comedic aspects, I think, of it. But like it felt like a weird indie movie where like at the end it's just like you don't know how you got there. Like there's just some random thing happens because it's an indie movie. Like I was totally cool with the alien just being UFO shaped, and then when it like
I didn't
expanded into like a towel, I was confused with that.
So my thing with that was I was like, is that because it's a predator and it was trying really hard for it to look at them so it'd have the satisfaction of killing them, I guess? Because the whole thing with that was like you don't look the predator in the eye, right?
Right.
So every time that OJ didn't look at it, it just left him alone. Which that part, I guess, that kind of confused me a little bit because I was like, I don't know, like I mean, everybody in that crowd was looking up at it as they were, getting sucked up. So I guess I don't know, but that was my only reason why I could think of like it unfolding and looking like it did,
Yeah, that's just what predators do. Yeah, I don't know.
I guess.
I thought that that was just like super weird, but it didn't ruin the movie for me.
No, but also like we don't see it whenever he's trying to lure it from the cloud. Like when they're at the here we go. When Jupe, he's trying to get all the show everybody like the new side attraction that they're gonna do, and the horse doesn't come out and it comes over. They just look up and there's like, oh, like I guess that could be seen as it was doing the same thing then.
Right.
We just didn't get to see it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Putting on a show.
Maybe. That's a good point. We just didn't see it so then. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either.
So, I don't know. I'm kind of going backwards here. But like with, there's all these different interpretations and stuff, right? But like, I would say that like with anyone's big thematic thing that they're taking away from this movie, it's not quite as big as Get Out or Us. And I was looking at some of the numbers. So at $68 million, this is like Jordan Peele's biggest budget. This is like his first real like blockbuster, like summer blockbuster in terms of like scale. Us, he was given $20 million, and then Get Out, he was only given 4.3. And I forget who produced Get Out and gave him the money. But when they were asked why would they give a comedian $4 million to make a horror movie, they said because with $4 million you can make a movie about whatever you want. Meaning, if you give someone a Marvel movie with $200 million, they're going to stick to a formula because they have to make that money back. Whereas with $4 million, when you're a big time movie producer, that's not nearly as much money, and that's pretty easy, relatively easy to get back. So like you can take more risks with $4 million. Do you think that like with Jordan Peele getting more money and having like making these bigger films, are you worried that like he's not going to be able to have the freedom to like to say what he wants to say, as like he did with like Get Out or Us?
I wasn't worried about that till you said that. Now I kind of am. Like, I mean, I guess I could see that for sure. I'm not one to say if that's why, like with this movie, if that's why he played it a little more safe than anything else, because he had a freaking monkey ravage a whole entire. There were people sitting in the audience dead. Like, I was like, there's a monkey. Mind you, the monkey's fast and big, but like he's concentrating on one person at a time. So those people sitting in the audience were just literally just sitting there watching it happen, like scared, I guess. But like, I don't know. I think that I'm like, he definitely didn't play up like the race aspect of it or anything like that, like he normally did. But also, do you think people might have been a little tired of it third time around from him? Yeah. So getting people something a little different would help too. So I don't really know. I feel like it's a little too early to tell on that type of thing. It's just what would they call it? That's his junior movie, right? That's his third movie. He's in his junior year of directing right now. Like it's just he has successfully within 3 movies established his own type of style of directing and universe. For all that matters, like that's pretty astounding. Like he's a very brilliant guy.
Yeah, if you would have told me like 10 years ago that the guy from Key and Peele was going to direct some of A, the greatest horror movies of all time, and B, like some of the most like thought-provoking movies of all time, I would have laughed in your face because like that's that's ridiculous.
I mean, yeah, that's true. His sketches are pretty awesome.
Yes,
to say the least.
So to wrap this up on Nope and Jordan Peele, if you had to rank his 3 movies, how would you rank them?
I don't know.
For me, it's relatively easy because I actually never saw Us. Us, I heard that Us was a bit extreme, and it might have been a little too much for me. So like Get Out is my number 1, and then Nope second, and then Us is just defaults to 3.
Down there dangling. Yeah. Mine would actually probably be Us, Get Out, and Nope, but not
really?
Not in a like they're all good, like really good movies.
It says more about Jordan Peele than it does about the movie.
Yeah, and so like I just really liked Us, like the creepiness of it, like the whole story about it, like all the actors and actresses in it were just so good, especially whenever they had to act like their opposite selves and things like that. So it's just like I just really liked Us. Like Get Out is just still a pretty good classic, and like still all around has a good story and everything. And I really liked Nope, but like, I mean, if I had to pick, the weakest of the 3, like, I don't know, I wouldn't even say it's the weakest either. It's just like,
right.
I just really like Us.
Something has to be last.
Yeah, something has to be last. And I don't know, that's even a hard one because like Nope is pretty good. Like I'd even probably call it tied with Get Out a little bit, but like Get Out was so, like you said, like it's just so, it was different, especially when it came out and the time it came out and everything, like just different. So and it hit different. Both those movies hit different than Nope did, but I still really liked it. Like again, it still gave me that sense of wonder and like awestruck, like even with this beast that's eating people, and like dropping things from the sky and killing people that way too. Like it was still one of those, like, because I remember the first time I saw First Encounters of the Third Kind, like it was just one of those like, whoa, that's crazy, and it kind of gave me that same type of feeling. So
yeah, I agree with everything you just said there. But yeah, the reason I didn't really watch Us was because it was like that one was like a pure like horror movie. I'm not a big horror movie guy. I respect it. I get it. That's just not my thing. And I realized recently that I actually like horror a lot more than I thought I did. And that's what we're going to talk about next in our next segment here. We're gonna dive deep into genre and like what horror even is. Have I been getting it wrong this whole time? We'll see. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Dude, I'm so glad we're doing this.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a lot of fun, and it's not as difficult as I thought it would be.
No, not at all. Like Anchor has made it especially easy when it comes to like actually getting our podcast out on the air, because when hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on all the listening platforms. So easy getting it over to Spotify, getting it to Apple, wherever you're trying to get your podcast to. Yeah,
I think we're on like 7 platforms just through Anchor, and not even just the distribution, but even just creating the podcast. Like there's so many recording and editing tools within it, so you can record, edit, add music in, sound effects, all sorts of things directly through Anchor, and it is free.
Dude, that's amazing.
It's incredible. So if you would like to start your own podcast, just like ours, go to anchor.fm on your desktop device, or you can go on to your mobile app store and download the Anchor app. We are back. We're discussing Nope. Andrew's still with us, although he has he's switched it up a little bit. He's now inside. Yeah, not nice lighting. I should have switched it up too and like gone over to Graham's spot or something. Just
you should have.
Yeah, just to keep the just to keep the vibe going.
Change your clothes and everything.
Yeah, wardrobe change. It's been 2 weeks since we last recorded.
Yeah, gotcha. April Fools.
So the reason I had Andrew on here, as I kind of alluded to earlier, I know myself, and I know especially Graham, we're not big horror people. I mean, you want to talk about like a Marvel movie, we can discuss that for days. But like horror is not really our thing. I know Graham, because I lived with him for like a year, and he's just in general, he's super jumpy. If anything, like there's a knock on the door and he loses his mind and thinking that we're gonna all die or something. For me, I'm not big into like the demon, like possessed kind of thing. And I also just like don't really care for slashers. It's not my thing. But Andrew, I know that you like do like horror marathons like every October or something, right?
Oh yeah, my friend Ty Hunt and Ty lives in Georgia now, but he like I grew up. I used to be like scared Chucky the Killer Doll, man. That was like the scariest thing ever. I don't know. I just saw like a flash of it. Like my dad's changing the channel, like surfing the channels, trying to figure out what to watch, and he like stops for a second, and Chucky's on there. I was like dead to the world. I was so like freaking scared. I was like, ah! And then I just remember one time I was like, I should just watch the movie. And I kind of watched it, realized it was, what it was. And I was like, I don't know why I'm so scared of that. And that kind of just was like the snowball, the little push to the snowball effect to get me watching horror movies all the time. But yeah, like, my friend Ty, he was like, we should do like a list. It's like, we call it Spooktober. And we started off, this is like, I think we started doing this in like 2016 or something like that. We just list out all like, and we'd have our own individual list. It's just 31 horror movies, one a day in that month of October. Right. And I'm not gonna lie, like at the end of it, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so desensitized to everything. Everything's all bloody and decapitated everywhere. When I go to sleep, I can see it all. Like it's just it's an experience that I will try to convince people to go on with me, but I never recommend.
Okay.
I would not say I am an expert in the horror movie genre, but I have watched a lot of horror movies.
you know immensely more than I do, and that's all I care about. And I don't know, just for some context on like this conversation, I was talking to a listener of the show. His name's Pablo. So shout out Pablo if you're watching. And he was like, dude, like, why aren't you talking about more horror movies? And I was like, oh, we're just not into it. I don't know. I can't say much about them because I just don't, it's not my thing. And he was like, you have to, like, he gave me a list of like 5 horror movies. And of those 5, I had seen 4 of them. And the only one on there I would consider a horror movie was Midsummer. Which,
we have some differing opinions on that one right there.
Yes,
100% yes, a horror movie, but I don't even know. I remember when I saw that movie in theater, so it was like.
So for me, I knew nothing about Midsummer going in. All I had seen was that it was a really great movie, and I'd seen like some stills and things from cinematography pages or whatever. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll watch this. And I was expecting like some Greta Gerwig feel good movie. And then people started jumping off of cliffs.
Yeah,
and I was like,
and then you see them splatter on the ground. Like,
yeah, and I was like,
no, I went in under the context of this is a sequel or whatever to Hereditary, one of the scariest movies I have ever seen in my life. And I wouldn't even say it's like, there are definitely movies that will top that. There's some, I will say I have hit my limit with some horror movies. Like, and I kind of refuse. Like, I'm just like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. It's mainly like the, I don't know, like slashers fine. It's like the bodily horror. There's one called Swallow I have never watched, and the girl just swallows things. That's what her fetish is. She just swallows things, razor blades, everything. And I was just like, okay, nope, not gonna do that. There's another one. The name escapes me right now, but it's essentially this lady she got bit by this bug or whatever, and she's slowly turning into a zombie. So like from pulling nails out screaming to hair coming out in chunks and screaming, parts of her body. And I was just like, nope, not watching that. And the second one came out and I was like, nope. I watched it. I watched the first one, but I was like, I'm not watching the second one. Like, I don't know. Human Centipede is probably pushing it a little more, but I could do like Saw movies and stuff like that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I don't know. Like, just like, so this list that he sent me, like on there, he had Silence of the Lambs, which is one of it's probably like my top 5, but never once have I really considered it to be a horror movie. Like a thriller, sure, but I never would have thought of that as like horror. Or Get Out is another example. That's not super horror to me, and bringing back the episode, like Nope is another one. Like we said, I feel like it leans more sci-fi than it does horror. Like, how would you define horror, the horror genre?
I feel like there's broad generalizations, like has to involve, trying to overcome some sort of evil entity of some kind, whether that be a spiritual being, a monster, or beast, or whatever. Like you have to overcome, like that. Like you have to overcome that. Like there doesn't necessarily have to be a complete, like good versus evil mentality, but there's like the, I don't want to say like survival type of stuff too. I mean, there's survival horror as well. Like, so it's not necessarily all that, but like, I feel like there's something like having to understand or overcome some sort of evil that at the end of the day, you may or may not actually overcome in the first place.
Okay.
I think that would be my rough thing. I did try to look up like an actual definition or whatever. And like, we're talking like Wikipedia or something like,
I was actually just like looking that up here.
You can read that if you look that up.
I mean, if you have it already pulled up, then go for it.
A horror film genre seeks to elicit fear, disgust in its audience for entertainment purposes. Often explores dark subject matter, may deal with transgression topics or themes. Broad elements include monsters, apocalyptic events, and religious or folk beliefs. So I'd say I have learned over the years my favorite subgenre of horror is like it's the monster movie, but more specifically they have to be like out in the wilderness, like Blair Witch Project, or there's a bunch of them out there. There's a Willow Creek about that's like a Bigfoot, like found footage one. All the ones it's not specifically found footage.
Just those two happen to be.
Yeah, those two happen to be. There's another one called Relic, which is really fun. I do like demon movies. Demon movies are pretty fun. But that also goes into my, like childhood fears of things that seen flash on TV or whatever, Like I guess with that would be like the church background where I'm like, demons, that's kind of cool. Like
see I'm the opposite. Like demons, like no thank you, I'm okay. I'll stay away from that. I don't know. Like, I mean,
The Exorcist, that's a pretty good movie. I mean, that's the one that kind of like got the horror genre to where, the inspiration that everybody puts. And honestly, I could see why, like even watching that movie now, like so many years later, like it still makes you feel uncomfortable. And I think that's kind of cool that a movie could elicit that even decades later,
Yeah.
That's why people go see these horror movies. It's the fear of the unknown. Like you don't want to watch it, but you do, like you want to see what this monster is or how these people survive the worst week or month of their lives. Well, I mean, although I will say like The Conjuring and stuff, I never understood in like demon possession movies, like how at the end I'm like, so what happens after? You all just go back to normal? Your mom tried to kill you and she was like, it didn't look like yourself, was speaking in like 5 different languages. You're just okay with this? Like,
all right, see you at Thanksgiving, Mom.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly that. I think that's part of why I don't like it, just because like some of it's just so illogical, like, or like there are just so many things that are like just left in the air. Because I mean, if you listen to any episode of this show, like a lot of the things that we attack are like continuity and things like that. Like I don't know, that's just my thing. I struggle to watch things where it's just like, yeah, you have to accept this because that's how it is. I don't know. I need explanations for everything, which might be why I like Jordan Peele so much, because like we were saying last time, like you can really see all of the things being played out very subtly. I
even said it too. I said, like for Jordan Peele, at least there is a reason for everything. Kind of like Stanley Kubrick and all of his movies, like the labels of the, tomato paste, like facing out where it's all the same thing. It shows, like it's all very intentional, and it is kind of phenomenal with him too. Like 3 movies in, he's already up there. Like you were saying, like Quentin Tarantino, Stanley Kubrick, all those people is pretty awesome. But I also think too with Jordan Peele, like what makes him such an effective like horror writer is not necessarily like he's definitely pulls like race and everything into that, which is scary to a lot of people, like, so like I feel like in context, like with Get Out, like it might not be as scary, but like for, some other people, it could be like, you're like, that's my nightmare. Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. I remember I watched it with my dad, and I was like, oh, that was a really great movie. And I went to bed, and like, he didn't sleep all night because he was terrified.
Oh, geez. It's awesome because a movie can evoke that type of feeling from you and like make you think about that. But also you're just like, oh no. I remember that. I remember watching some scary movies and I'm like, oh no, I can't sleep.
I've never been like that, but I do remember when I watched Silence of the Lambs for the first time, I thought it was a great idea to watch it late at night when my roommate had left for the weekend. And so I was just by myself. The door was behind me. And so like throughout the movie, I would just casually, like, I'm not very jumpy, but I just kept looking behind me. And then after it, like, I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to go walk around for a little bit because I can't just like sit here and not see what's going on behind me. I need to like make sure my surroundings are okay, even though it was just a movie. And I know that. Yeah.
I want to challenge you. You probably won't even do this, but my favorite horror movie of all time is House of the Devil. It's so good. Okay. So good. I just want to challenge you to watch it. Okay. Because I think cinematically and everything, I feel like it's very good. Like the way everything that they did with it, I think it's a movie from 2012, I want to say. Okay. But like the cinematography on it is so good. Like the character, like the acting and everything is really good. I wouldn't say so good, but it was really good. Just everything about it. I think you'll really enjoy the experience of it. Okay. All I'll say is like the last 10 minutes, just, buckle up. That's all. Just the last 10 minutes.
I mean, you're calling me out of my podcast. I feel like I have to accept the challenge.
This is why I wanted to do it. You need to accept
this was all a part of your plan.
You're like, this is a horrible idea having Andrew on this podcast.
Why did I do this? What am I doing? Graham, why'd you get your truth pulled today?
Yeah, well, that's my challenge to you with that one. But that's my favorite horror movie. I don't want to talk anymore about it because I want you to see it. Okay. Because it's good.
Hey, this is future version of Alex, who is currently editing the podcast. I've been challenged to watch this movie, and so I'm going to, and I'm probably going to make Graham watch it too. Even though he is going to fight me very hard on it. We're going to watch this movie, and we are going to post our instant reactions over on our Patreon at patreon.com/thepopcornhangover. It's going to be a part of our exclusive show for Patreon donors called The Parking Lot Talk, where we give our instant reactions of things we just saw. So make sure you go check us out on Patreon for that. But also, if you want something a little quicker, and you're loving this conversation with Andrew, we like to keep our shows at about an hour, and Andrew and I talked for a lot longer than an hour. So if you want to get the full version, the full mostly unedited version of today's episode, make sure you head over to our Patreon. Again, patreon.com/popcornhangover. It'll be in the show notes. So yeah, go check that out. Back to the episode.
But yeah, so defining the horror genre, how would you define this horror genre? How about I'll get back to that.
Go back to me. So, I mean, that's probably why I want to have this conversation, because I don't know how I would define it. I mean, clearly it's not like what the broad definition is, right? Because I just don't consider anything to be horror unless it's like a slasher or something to do with like possession, demons, and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess if I had to define it, it would be, images and ideas that are designed to invoke horror, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm using the word in the definition, but I think it's fine in this context. I don't know, like, and what I've discovered, like when I was talking to Pablo about it and just diving in a little deeper, because I came to this realization that I've been misdefining horror, is like the movies that I wouldn't have called horror, but he did, and if you look it up, they're horror movies. Like the thing that I would call them is a thriller. Like where is the line?
What was his top 5 movies? What was those 5 movies that he had you watch?
He gave me The Witch, The Lighthouse, Hereditary, and Midsommar.
He went all artsy. He went all like cinematography heavy, like very artsy. Like
and the one that really like blew my mind was The Lighthouse, because I would have called that a psychological thriller. But when I looked it up and I saw horror was number one on, and what is the Lighthouse genre? Horror is the first thing that pops up. And thinking about it, like, yeah, I mean, even with my definition, that is a horror film, because it's playing with this idea of being stranded on a lighthouse with somebody, and like, a
psychopath named Willem Dafoe.
Yes, right. Like, yeah, like that is a horror movie. But watching it,
him and Robert Pattinson were so good in that movie. It was
amazing, amazing. But yeah, like that's a horror movie that I've seen and I really enjoyed. But I never in a million years would have called it a horror movie until he pointed it out to me.
So me and one of my friends made a way of, like, I don't know, scaling how scary a horror movie is, just for like people to be able to understand, right? And it's just more like, getting into water, getting into a pool, like you have your toe dippers, your toe dippers and stuff like that. Like, like Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Even like the current Are You Afraid of the Darks or whatever, the Goosebumps show, or even like the movies that they've come out with, like those are all like toe dippers, like you're just dipping your toe in the horror genre and you're just getting out. That was it. And then you have like, your ankle deep, your knee deep, your thigh deep, waist deep, neck deep, over your head. Hereditary is definitely an over your head, like very scary movie. But like cinematography wise is up there with all 5 of those movies that he put. And like, I'm not challenging you to watch this movie, because that movie has still one of the scariest scenes I've ever seen in a scary movie. Okay. Like, I remember I was sitting in the theater and it was happening. I was like, I'm never gonna get that image out of my head. And it was awesome. I don't know why it's awesome, but it was. But like, honestly, like in comparison to like Insidious or the Conjuring movies or anything like that, like I would say like you could definitely watch Midsummer and like still horror, but like it's not like scary horror, I don't know how to describe that. Definitely thrilling, to say the least.
But so like where would you draw that line? Because like, for example, like Seven, that's a thriller. It's definitely not a horror movie. Like, like what's, because even like thrill and horror, I feel like thriller and horror like are just kind of hand in hand. Like, is there?
Well, so I feel like thriller movies are meant to keep you on the edge of your seat, like to really have that sense of, give you that uneasy, like not necessarily uneasy, but like it's thrilling. Like you're like, what's going to happen next? And it's keeping you on the edge of your seat and you don't know what's going to happen next. That's why, like Christopher Nolan style, like what? Or, like M. Night Shyamalan, whenever he would do good twists, like you're like, what? I don't know. I just keep you on the edge of your seat, I guess, for thrillers. And I guess with the subgenres, I feel like that really blurs those lines of like what is horror and what is not.
Right.
Because I know what you're saying. Like Silence of the Lambs, I think it's only because she's trying to catch a killer, which is a human. Which
like that's definitely a horrifying thought. Like Hannibal Lecter as an idea thrilling. Is horrible, but it's more of a thriller. Like, just to take it further, like where would you draw the line between horror as an overall genre and horror as an element? Because like you were saying earlier, like you have Star Wars, that's a sci-fi movie, but there's also action and adventure. Like there's different elements of things. I think I would almost call Nope a sci-fi movie with horror elements. Oh no, I would. That's what I was gonna get with Nope. Was like, let's see. I'm trying to be careful with my words because I'm sure there's a lot of horror fans out there like, you don't know anything. What's wrong with you? And I'm just like, I don't know anything. But we
like,
get roasted on a weekly basis, so it's fine.
I wouldn't call Nope a horror movie by any means. And I feel like Jordan Peele even saw that and tried to warn people with that second preview. So like Silence of the Lambs, I would say it could definitely be argued that is a horror movie, but like, I guess where I would draw that line is if it doesn't have, how do I put this? I feel like I would tend to lean towards you. If it doesn't have the quintessential, like you have the person who's trying to overcome this evil entity, and the evil entity has to be, a monster or a demon or a vampire or, you know, like whatever you want to call it. Like, I feel like then it should, you know, like it's not like, I don't know. Silence of the Lambs is definitely not true crime, but it kind of leans the border of that. If it was a real story, then it would be more true crime than it would be horror. It'd be a, you know, thriller about that, you know?
Right.
So, Silence of the Lambs, like, it's just unnerving to watch, but it's definitely not like cover your eyes, I'm so scared. But some people,
right?
It's kind of like Mexican food whenever you live in Mexico, right? Like, it's like people say, is that spicy? And if you really like that food all the time, you eat that food all the time, and you chomp on jalapenos, that's not going to be the right person to ask either.
Right.
So there'd be some people that'd be like, is this movie scary? And I'm like, I'm not a good person to ask. But
that's yeah.
I don't know really where I don't really know where I'd draw the line, really, because I mean, I know it is. Because I mean, like, you could even say that, like, this is a thriller horror, and thriller's the main thing in it. It just, you know, has some horror stuff to it, like Stranger Things. I think we talked about Stranger Things earlier, not like in the podcast, but like just over text. Like the first few seasons, like the first 3 seasons, it had some horror elements in it, but it was more sci-fi. I'd say the 3rd season probably has some more horror aspects to it with that weird. Like what's it called?
The mind flare?
The mind flare, but it was that dog in the hospital where it was all nasty and made up of all people's dead body parts. Like, that was one of the things that I was like, that's awesome. Like, that was definitely some horror element there. But then the 4th season just caked it on with people's eyes horror. Getting sucked out of the skull. Like, right in the first episode, you're like, whoa, what? Chrissy, wake up. I don't like this. And so I was just like, whoa, like, this is awesome. And I don't know why they chose to go that hard with it. Probably because it's, you know, second to last season.
Yeah. I have one final question that's kind of, it's on the topic of horror, but it's not really like, I don't know. It's kind of on topic. I was having a very philosophical discussion with, I guess you call him a coworker. And he was talking about how, like, people love to be scared. Like, the horror genre is one of the most successful genres that there is in terms of making money. People love going to roller coasters, which are designed to tell your body that you're in danger. Everyone, you know, has these, I don't want to call them fantasies, but like these daydreams about like, oh, like what would I do in like this terrifying situation, right? What is our obsession with being scared? Because even like both of us have talked about how like we watched these terrifying movies and we were terrified and we said, cool, like let's go watch another one. Like why? What is
now
it?
I'm gonna stay up all night. I'm gonna keep doing it to myself.
Yeah, like what is it about like horror that like we're just obsessed with as a society, or you personally would probably be an easier way.
It's the fear of the unknown, I think, is what it is. Like to add to that too, like, yeah, horror movies have started to become really successful, but like I love saying this because it also contradicts itself too, because you have, you know, the Halloween franchise, we have Nightmare on Elm Street, or like it has all these like really like non-original entities in it, but I still think it's producing some of the more original content that's not just based off books and remakes of other movies. It does do remakes of the movies, but like I feel like they tell somewhat of original stories, even if it's folklore that you've never heard before, you know? Like the Babadook, whoever thought about that? What? Or, you know, James Wan and everything like that. But like I think it's just for me it's the fear of the unknown, I guess, and like wanting to face that almost. Like we want to see these outlandish things that we could never think about, that we only hear in stories that we're like, whoa, that would be scary. You know, that the Bible idolizes not idolizes per se, but like, you know, you hear all these stories of like demons getting cast into pigs and tossed, and then the pigs run over your, you know, like demons getting expelled from people and stuff. And at least with those demon movies, it's usually like a whole like good versus evil like mentality, you know, God versus Satan type of battle. It's like you want the people to win, the people who are performing the exorcism and stuff. And but at the same time, you're like, you're not rooting for the demon, but you're like still looking between your hand, like between your fingers, and you're like, what does this demon look like? And then you see it and you're like, oh no, like,
yeah,
what did I? So I don't know, like, then there's just some things that you just don't want to see there. So
yeah,
that's what it is. It's the fear of the unknown.
It is what it is. You know what? I like that. I'm gonna go with that. People ask me about horror movies. I'm just gonna steal that from you.
Fear of the unknown, like Cloverfield and stuff. Ironically, like, you don't necessarily get any answers in that movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, I mean, you kind of get some answers contextually, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But like, other than that, like, you don't really get any more than that. Like, why did it come there? Did it just crash to the earth? Who knows? Like,
right.
Will it come back? Maybe. Like, is it really gone? Like, it's like the Ring.
Does the studio want to make another one? We don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, with that, if you could tell really quick if the studio wants to potentially make another one later. Like, there's no. But also, like, I think that kind of plays into the horror elements too. Is that you can't. Like, the entity can make you think you have defeated it. You have this happy ending, but at the end of the day, have you really defeated it? Is it really there? Like, The Strangers, that movie, that really gave you a really bad sense of, you know, you have home as it's comforting. Nothing can really get you when you're at home. It's a safe space. And that movie just completely destroyed that. Like, oh, you're at home alone, relaxing. Well, these people are going to come in and torture you just because. Like,
all right, so that one I will not be watching.
Yeah, that movie was fun.
So Andrew,
yeah, definitely that.
Do you have any final thoughts on Nope, on horror genre, anything? Any final thoughts on any of the things?
Definitely go see Nope if you haven't seen it yet. That's definitely one thing.
I'm gonna give some advice and say go see it in IMAX. I haven't seen it in IMAX, but from what I've heard, like, Jordan Peele didn't just do IMAX for the sake of doing IMAX. Most of the shots where he actually uses the full IMAX screen and everything, like, we're on shots where he's like, they're showing the sky and they're looking for the alien, and like, especially on an IMAX screen, and like seeing that extra few pixels like going up, like, it just really emphasizes the vastness and just the fear of the unknown, like the terrifying what is in the sky kind of element. So definitely see it in theaters if you haven't already.
I definitely, I think I want to see it so the second time in IMAX, because that was mentioned, like, since he was saying, like, you know, I'm trying to find the list, but like, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Signs. Those are two movies that he mentioned specifically for like some, and like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that's like an epic movie. Like, and I'm sure that's kind of like like I was saying, and when we were talking about Nope, like the awe-inspiring feeling that you get when you first see the UFO, and even if it's just like behind the clouds and stuff, you're still like, whoa, like, that's crazy. And then the first time you see it just fly over everybody, and you're just like, I think, and so for sure,
Graham leaned over me when you were watching it. I guess he hadn't seen a trailer and was like, wait, is this about aliens?
Go into it with an open mind, especially since it's not as scary as, I mean, after listening to this, you know, it's not that scary. But definitely watch that and just pay attention to the themes and stuff. Like, it's just really, it's all around a good movie. And then just in general, like, I'm going to go ahead, whenever I make my Spooktober list with all 31 horror movies this year, I'm going to forward that to you. You can forward that on to people.
Oh, please. Please. We're definitely going to do that.
That way. Yeah. You could give that to some people or whatever. I think that would be, like, I don't know. I've been wanting to share, you know, Spooktober with people, a lot more people. I just think it's a really fun thing. And it doesn't even have to be like you watch one horror movie a day. Like, and it doesn't have to be like super scary horror movies either. Like, I'm pretty sure Halloween Town is on there a couple times. Not a couple times. It has to be at least once. And, you know, like Hocus Pocus and those other fun, like, growing up, you know, Disney movies, non-Disney movies and stuff that you grew up watching, like Halloween Tree and stuff. Like, that stuff's on there as well. But like, I definitely try to put some like pretty, like, sometimes some pretty wicked stuff that I know I haven't seen yet, or but definitely watch horror movies. Give people, you know, don't don't let those fall to the wayside. There's definitely a lot of good ones. There's definitely a lot of non-scary good ones as well. And I feel like too, it's kind of like, you know, whenever people play scary video games, right? Like, I don't want to just sit there and just play the game because I like it. I want to sit there with my friends and play this game, and all of us get scared, you know, like, and so stories, some fun stories, like watching the movie, you remember your reaction, or you remember looking over at your friend who has another equally great reaction, or how the audience acted, like, you know, going to see A Quiet Place in the theater. Like they made that movie so quiet that you could hear the person, you know, 3 rows down eating their popcorn, or the freaking idiot who decided to drop their metal tin of popcorn everywhere and scared the crap out of everybody in the audience. Then it was so loud. And so, like, yeah, I mean, it's an experience. It's so fun. Like, especially when you go see it in theaters and stuff, like, make it a point to go, you know.
Andrew, where can people find you on the internet? More of you.
Segue. I'm a graphic designer. I do graphic design things. I've been working on been working on your logo for your videography business for about 2 years now.
One day.
I am working on it, but I'm also like, as soon as a paid client comes in, I'm like, sorry, Alex.
We're gonna put that to the side.
Yeah. But I do graphic design. You know, pick all the cliche things for a graphic designer. You know, music, movies, coffee.
Yeah.
And so my Instagram is the best thing, you know, to get a hold of me, or a way to see what I'm doing in life and stuff. And that's sextondesign.ai. That would be my Instagram handle. I do have a Twitter handle. I think it's the same thing, but I don't tweet.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do. On the rare occasion that I do, it's really not that funny or anything. I don't really do anything.
So basically what he's saying there is, if you want to go and roast him about his terrible horror movie opinions, you should go reach out to him on Instagram. Andrew,
make
thank
sure
you.
to follow me first.
As long as you follow Andrew, he doesn't care. Much as you want. That's your new policy. As long as you follow us, you can say whatever you want.
Yep. That's it. That's all that matters.
Andrew, thank you for joining us today. Tapping in real quick. You've been listening to the Popcorn Hangover. We've been talking about Nope. What were your thoughts on Nope? What are your thoughts on horror genres and our terrible horror opinions? Let us know over on Instagram or TikTok, and we can also you can also find us on Patreon at patreon.com/popcornhangover. And until next time, we'll see you later.